So let's talk about shotting patterns, especially for these kind of open water canal systems. It's really important to think about how you want your hook bait to work. So let's have a think about where I am today and a typical canal system. Generally on canals, the water's clear, the fish are very spooky, and the fish don't necessarily feed on the bottom all the time. The only reason why they feed on the bottom is you, the angler, forces them down by feeding and enticing them to compete and follow your bait down as a result. Generally on canals, the fish want to move above the bottom, cruising up and down. They eventually see bait, they get enticed by it, they hang around in that area, and eventually, occasionally, they'll get their heads down and feed. So what I want to do as an angler is I want to entice the fish that are 2-3 foot off the bottom to follow my hook bait down. So this rig is nearly 10 foot deep. It's a 2 gram rig. So a lot of people might think, right, put that olivet right down near the hook length, get the bait down, create that stability, but you've missed that opportunity of fish following your hook bait down. So for that reason, if you notice, I've got the olivet set 2¼ foot above the hook, and below that I've got tapered spread number 8 going down to the hook length, which I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a minute, which is an 8-inch hook length. So you can imagine now, because of the taper of this shot, the rig is staying reasonably straight, but the shot and the hook bait is arcing down to the bottom, which is enticing the fish above the bottom to follow your hook bait down. And generally on canals and these natural waterway systems, when you get a bite, it's when you're lowering your rig in, it just goes into the water and the rig settles and it goes under straight away, because of that reason that they've followed your hook bait down. And that is why it's really important to manage your shotting pattern. So I'd say, without a shadow of a doubt, for this kind of scenario where I want to target everything that swims, maybe catch a few fish on the drop and on the deck, this is my go-to shotting pattern, whether it be an olivet here or bulk of shots dictated by the weight of the rig. If it was, let's say, a gram rig or anything under, there'd be number 8s with a tight bulk, all the number 8s spread in this area here, to kind of like give you that olivet principle, that bulk principle. But then below, again, I'd have tapered shot going down. So there's minimal resistance in the area where the fish might be taking your hook bait. If all of a sudden you then delivered your weight in this area, and you've only got a short length of line then between, let's say, your olivet or your bulk there and your hook down there, there's too much resistance, and the bigger fish will not take your hook bait because it just doesn't look or feel natural. So you will catch bigger fish if you really think and pay attention to detail with your shotting pattern. And also, the beauty about using uniform shot down the rig is it allows me as the angler to adjust the shotting pattern. So if all of a sudden I start missing bites, all it's a case of is that I might actually condense this shot a little bit more, not aggressively more, just a little bit, to speed up the process of that hook length getting to the bottom. If then all of a sudden I get a load of fish in my peg, then it's time for me to move my olivet down. But if you do it too early in the session, you miss out on getting those bites and getting your peg and getting your swim working and feeding it correctly. So always think about, get your rig working right, get your presentation working right, and you'll catch loads more fish. And this is why at the bottom end, I want to talk to you about the hook length. Now, a lot of people might go for a 4, a 6-inch hook length, but because of the depth and what I've explained and that arc of natural bait falling to the bottom, I've gone for an 8-inch hook length, because that bodes with the depth that I'm fishing as well. And I know that the majority of the fish I'm going to be catching will be just as that rig straightens up on the bottom, and that's what an 8-inch allows. 8-inch hook length allows you to give you that natural bait presentation as that bait falls onto the bottom. So there we have a simple but very important way of presenting your rig using the correct shotting pattern. So always think about your shotting patterns when you're on these natural waters.